Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to show you guys how to manually post a listing, and all of the tools that I'm using here are free. You can do this literally, all you need is an eBay account. As long as you have an eBay account, you can do it. So let's do a quick overview of all of the tools that we're going to need. First, we need the item that we're going to post, right? And I really like these kind of items. I like focusing on items that don't cost a whole lot in the first place. They're for multiple items, because when you do that, you can increase their price by a lot and people still think that they get value. This, for example, is 12 bottles of hand sanitizer. It's selling for $23. It's going to also include $6 to ship it. So in reality, it costs about $29 plus tax to acquire it. So I'm going to post it for like 45 bucks. Because, yeah, that is expensive for hand sanitizer, but you get 12 of them. And to people buying it, it makes more sense if you get a high quantity for a higher price, even if the per item price isn't actually any cheaper than buying it one at a time, right? So this is the item that we're going to pick, and we're going to use two tools to post this. So obviously, you need to have an eBay account. So we're going to post this on eBay. You could do it on Amazon or even on Shopify, but for this video, we're going to use eBay. We're also going to use this UPC site MDB tool. What this does is allows you to pull the UPC number of a product. A UPC number stands for Universal Product Code, or something like that. It basically means it's a model number that is supposed to be the same no matter what retailer or source uses the item. So it's supposed to make it easier to identify the item. And nowadays, a lot of platforms to sell on are encouraging you to supply these. Like eBay rewards you by pushing you further up in search results when you have a valid UPC code. So we're going to need to be able to find that for our listing. And then also we're going to use a title optimization tool called Title Builder. This is going to allow us to figure out how to add more keywords to our title so that our listing gets more attention in search results. Because we don't want to just copy this listing. When I do bulk posting, I just copy the listings. But when you're posting a listing individually, you want to put some time into the title to add keywords that are going to help you produce more sales, right? So that being said, now that you know what tools we're going to use, let's get to it. On the left here, you can see that I have the eBay selling tab. On this page, you can get here by going through my eBay and then clicking on sell. And so a great way to start here is actually with the UPC code. So to start off, we're going to find the UPC code of the listing. Sometimes you can find it in the listing description or in the information. I could go to item specifications here, and sometimes it'll be included here, but it doesn't look like it is. So another option that we have, if we can't find it on the web page, is to view the source of the web page. So we can right click anywhere in the document and then click on view source. This is going to show us a bunch of confusing code, but we could really quick just search for the term UPC. Oh, look at that. UPC is this right here. So we don't even have to use the database to find the UPC code, but it could also be the wrong UPC code. So let's just keep that in mind. We did pull a UPC code from the source code of the listing. And again, I did that by right clicking and going to view page source and then just searching through all of the text for the occurrence of UPC. And that's how I found that. That isn't always going to work, but sometimes it does. So let's say that I wasn't able to find it that way. I can still use the manufacturer's part number, which is this one right here, and then go to this database, upcitemdb.com, and we're going to search for the model number of the item. And look, we found a UPC code. And holy moly, it actually matches the UPC code that we pulled from the source of the page. That's wicked. So that's useful. But let's say that that didn't work. We weren't able to find the UPC code in the page or with the model number. Well, don't worry. We can just pull the title. Sometimes, if you can't find a model number, you can just look up the title in a UPC code database. And if you're lucky, look at that. it still came up. Wow. So 3 different ways that you can find a UPC code for an item. All right, now we're going to move on. We're going to start with the UPC code. And I actually clicked the wrong one. I should have clicked the button underneath of it, but that's okay. And we can see that this, starting with the UPC code, is good because it's going to automatically categorize your item where it needs to be. And, oh, what's funny is it didn't actually upload the UPC to the UPC field. You can see down here in the listing field that you can add the universal product code there. See how eBay is kind of set up for that. So now we have our listing page. What we need is we need a title and we need images. We need to fill in the brand, the model, and some information here, and then we need a description. That's all that we're going to need to do before we can post the listing. So how do we make the title? That's probably a good place to start. Let's start by copying the title here and just pasting it. This would be a kind of the lazier way, and this is what I do when I do bulk items, because I can't individually edit things, so I have to use the titles here. You can produce sales by just keeping the titles the same, but understand that you can produce more sales when you take the time to optimize your title. Optimizing a title is really simple. There's a whole bunch of different tools that you can use, but you can think about it this way. Okay, our title, how many characters do we have in our title? eBay allows us to use 80 characters in the title. Depending on what you put in the title here, it's going to either show up when people search for things or not show up. The more you put in the title, the more likely the item is to actually show up in search results. So it's in your best interest to fill the title up with keywords that are relevant to the item. But how do we figure out what is relevant to hand sanitizer, right? The name of this item right now is Purell Advanced Refreshing Gel Hand Sanitizer. 2 fluid ounces, pack of 12. So the 2 fluid ounce and the pack of 12 is useful. It helps identify that, hey, there's more than one item in this listing, and this is how much. But are people searching for it? I think the pack of 12 is important, but I'm not sure we need the size. I'm going to keep it there, but what I don't think we need, Purell is useful because that's a brand name that people will actually search for. I don't think that we need advanced and refreshing, but that's okay. For now, we're going to look up hand sanitizer in this tool called Title Builder. And what this is going to do is it's going to show us all of the other keywords that come up, and then also if they're actually searched for. So a lot of people search for bath. Purell is on there. Instant hand sanitizer. Ounce, advanced, bath, body works, pack, gel, bottles. Okay, so what we want to do now is incorporate words that show up here in our title, because we know that people are actually searching for these words. And you could look here and see that the ones that come under searched are the most searched. And then the ones that are called extra, even though it looks like their bars are bigger, they do not get searched as much as these keywords here. So these are the most important ones to use. And then after that, you want to use the top of the ones on this list. So the top ones on this list are hand, sanitizer, Purell, instant. And that's about it. So how are we going to do this? Let's see. We're going to get rid of advanced and refreshing, because we don't need that information. And what we're going to change it to is Purell. Here we're going to change this to pack of 12 bottles of Purell gel hand sanitizer for bath and body. That's just to put those keywords in there. Obviously, you can kind of finish. You don't have to be too specific with the titles. Really, what's most important is that you fill all of the characters up. Obviously, it's kind of an art, and it's one of the more time-consuming parts of manually listing things, is getting a sense for how long you want to make the titles, and if you want to go in the direction of filling them with relevant keywords, or if you want to go in the direction of making the title kind of flow and be more easy to read. There's kind of debate about that, and honestly, I don't optimize my titles, so I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I wanted to show you guys quickly how you would go about doing it, okay? So it's pack of 12 bottles of Purell gel hand sanitizer instant hand sanitizer for bath and body. And I think that's everything we're going to use. Pack of 12 bottles of Purell gel hand sanitizer for bath and body. Cleanliness. Cleaning. Bath and body. Cleaning. All right. Good enough. All right, so our title is made, and if we wanted to, we could put in a subtitle and all that kind of stuff. Keep in mind, you're going to pay $1.50 for that subtitle, so that might not be worth it. We want to make sure that our category is accurate. We can see that it's in health and beauty, healthcare, hand sanitizers, so that is the correct category. If you post items in the wrong category, they'll get taken down by eBay, and you can get violations for that. So if you want to, you can pay to add a second category for the item. So some items might fall under like video equipment and also camera equipment, that kind of thing. Sometimes you want an item to show up in multiple categories. Most of the time you don't need to worry about that. And then the third category option is to put the item in a category in your eBay store. So you can see here I have a couple custom categories that I use occasionally, but that's not something we're going to worry about too much. Right now we just want to make the listing. All right, we're not going to worry about variations. We've already put in the UPC code, and the condition is new. These are untouched items, right? So now the next field we need to fill in is images. All right, well, let's go back to the original Walmart ad and see here we have one image. All right, so what we have a couple different options here. There's some debate as to the best way to do this. Some people just save the image as a document, which is really easy. You can just save it like this and then do like hand sanitizer. And then all we would need to do is just click add photos and then go to our return. Here we go. One second, I need to delete this. And add in our hand sanitizer photo. Now, there's some debate here because some people believe that when you do this, eBay knows that you're using a stock image and they'll rank your listing lower, okay? And also you can see that there's this little red icon here. This image is too low of a resolution to upload to eBay. So we couldn't do that anyway. So we need to come up with a workaround. There's a couple different ways you can acquire images for an item. So you could go to Google and then just Google image hand sanitizer, right? We're not going to worry about that. What we're going to do is use a screenshot of this item to kind of modify it, right? So we're going to open the item that I just saved. I'm sorry, we're not going to make a screenshot. What we're going to do is edit the item in Paint and add more white border to it as a kind of quick workaround so that the file is big enough to be used on eBay, right? So we're just going to go over here and then open the file in Paint. I can just right click, edit, and then from here, look how small that is. All we're gonna do is this. Very, very simple, cheap trick to make it a bigger image, right? And if you want to, you could also scale it a little bit like that. So now the image should be big enough that we can upload it to eBay. And let's see if that's gonna work. Well, it uploaded. 100%. That usually means uploaded. And no little red check. So now the image is big enough to be shown in eBay search result. Now, a quick note on images here. Usually you want to have more than one image. eBay prefers that you have 2 or 3. So there are some really cheap, simple tricks you can do. Sometimes I just do these as a kick. I don't necessarily recommend that you do this, but if we open our File Explorer here, it's going to take a second because I'm recording a video, so my computer is always a little bit slower in that case. And then we're going to go to our image. then before we mess with it, we're going to make a new one. All right. So I'm going to go back into my image, go into it's in return labels, and we're going to edit the image here. Except this time, what we're going to do is select everything. And obviously, this is not ideal, but in some other images, you can do something like this just to make it look different. What we're going to do is mirror the image. So this image has text on it. So this is not the best way to do this because it's quite obvious, right, that this image is just mirrored, but that's okay. So we uploaded our first image, and now we're going to add our second image. There's some argument here because some people would say, oh, that's pointless. But now we have twice as many photos, and we're going to be a little bit preferred in eBay's algorithms. So if you really wanted to, you could rotate it, that kind of thing. Obviously, this workaround isn't the best in this item because it has words in the image. So when I flip it like that, it's very obvious that it's just been flipped. If this was a couch or something like that, you got to keep in mind it can be misleading because it might make somebody think that an item has some kind of piece on the wrong side, that kind of thing. But we're not going to worry too much about that. We're just illustrating the point here, right? So now we have some images. And I also want to talk real quick about another way that you can acquire the image. So on Windows, there's something called snipping tool. You can also use this on a Mac. It's going to be called something else. Basic premise of this is it just takes a small screenshot of what's available on your screen, right? So we could take a screenshot like that and then just save the image. And that is another way that you can get an image off of a web page. Cool? So now we're going to move forward. We have our image. We have our two images, we have our title, we have our UPC code, but now what we need is to fill in some of the item specifics. eBay will usually recommend some item specifics. I just always click accept all so that it shows all of that up. It's a bundled listing because there are 12 bottles, right? The expiration date doesn't matter because it's hand sanitizer, it's not food. The MPN we can find on the web page here. MPN and model number are the same thing. So one is like a manufacturer part number, and then the other is the model number. So there are some situations where they're going to be different, but most of the time, eBay just wants you to put in some item in that field. And the more item specifics that you fill out, the higher your listing will rank in eBay search results. So now we're getting to the description. The description's really simple. We're just going to copy. I like keeping my descriptions quite short, so I'm not going to copy all of the information. I'm only going to copy a little bit of it because in my experience, mistakes in the photo guarantee a problem. Mistakes in the title, there's most likely going to be a problem. Mistake in the description, there could be a problem, but a lot of people don't even read the descriptions. So I don't think it's really worth trying to spend a lot of time making a perfect description because the reality is that most people just look at photos and titles. They don't really pay a whole lot of attention to the description. So in my opinion, it's not really worth your time. But that being said, some people would copy everything. They would change the font. They would kind of make it their own. You can do this if you want. I usually just do something simple, like maybe just bolding the title and then changing this to a numbered list. Cool? All right, so we're going to scroll down and look at the rest of this. So now we need to figure out our pricing. That's the last real thing left to do. Obviously, there's shipping policies, payment policies, and return policies, but those are all automatically set up when you sell stuff on eBay already, so we're not going to go over picking those because it's already been done, right? So what we need to do is figure out how much we're going to sell the item for. So I can do some quick math to show you guys. Generally, as a dropshipper, a good standard to use is 1.4 times the cost to acquire the item. The cost to acquire the item can be calculated by adding the cost of the item to the cost to ship the item. You don't need to worry about sales tax or anything like that. 1.4 is enough of a markup to count for sales tax and other, your PayPal fee, your eBay fee, and then still have a little bit of profit left over. So here, let's first figure out how much our item's cost to acquire is. It's a $23 item. And on Walmart, anything above $35 ships for free. This is below $35, so we know that it's going to have $6 of shipping as well. So 23 bucks plus $6, that's $29. Let's say 30. We can take $30 and multiply it by 1.4. This is a good standard to go to if you don't have experience dropshipping and you don't have experience with pricing. And so you would sell this item for $42. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to sell the item for $42, and we're going to scroll down. Our quantity is 1. Usually you want to keep this at 1, but since I have a big account, I set all of my items to a quantity of 10. All right? And now we need to change the weight and dimensions. Since our eBay listings are all free shipping, we don't need to worry about this. It's not going to change the price at all. So I'm going to put in some generic information here, just 6 inches by 6 inches by 1, and then 1 pound. Keep in mind, this isn't going to affect anything. The only time we're paying shipping is through Walmart. We can think of this item as a $30 cost item. We don't have to worry about the shipping cost because Walmart's only ever going to charge either $6 or nothing if your item is above 35 bucks. So we can just think about it as the cost to acquire the item. We don't need to think about the shipping on eBay, right? So now that we've done all of this information, we have our title, we have our UPC code, we have our photos, we have our item specifics, and we have our item description. We've now done all the work necessary to manually post our item. And we have a little alert here if you're adding food, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. We're going to continue listing. I probably should have had an expiration date on this because it is a health item, but we're not going to worry about that for now. I've finished this video, and I just wanted to show you how to manually post an item. This is useful if you want to get some practice drop shipping, but you don't really want to commit to buying some software, and you want to just see if you can produce some kind of attention, right? The lower that you use your price markup, the more likely you are to produce a sale with this. So if you are just doing this to try and create some sales, I encourage you to play around with the concept of producing some sales that won't make you much money, but also won't lose you money. So figure out how much you can sell something for and break even, just so that you get experience selling items. Keep in mind that the cheaper the item is, the more likely it is to sell. And I don't mean that, okay, just because the item's $5, it's more likely to sell. What I'm saying is that it's easier to sell anything for 20 or 30 bucks than it is to sell something for $200 or $300. Keep that in mind, because if you're just trying to produce sales, I encourage you to stay with cheap costing items that are under like 30 bucks. It's obviously you can earn money from other things, but if your point is to kind of learn and experiment, I encourage you to post cheap items. They're more likely to produce results that educate you. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video, which is going to be about how to semi-automatically post listings. What we just did was a manual way to post listings, and it's very, very time consuming, and also nothing is tracked. We have no inventory tracking. So what happens when Walmart runs out of this item? Our listing still exists on eBay. What happens when somebody buys it? How do we fulfill that sale? Those are all problems we'd have to deal with. So I'll see you in the next video about semi-automatic listing. Ciao.